Alright guys, so you are looking at some of the very first clips I've shot on the R5, and today we are doing two important things, and I figure why not kind of just make a little vlog out of it, try out the camera a little bit, some of these different frame rates, check out if there is this IBIS Wobble, if you can turn it off, just all sorts of stuff. Kind of just want to mess around with it a little bit, so I figure why not just kind of make a video out of it. So the first thing I need to do today is actually I'm picking something up for the office, which is something I've been thinking about picking up for a little while now, kind of a little addition to the office. And then the second thing, which actually we're gonna do first, is get some caffeine. And what better place to get some caffeine than the coffee house? Man, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I actually was just outside like filming some B-roll, trying to get like the front of the shop and everything, and it just started like pouring down rain. Like now the sun's out, but it's like thunderstorming out of nowhere. So yeah, I had to cut that short a little bit, but still got a couple of shots with 4K 120. It's looking pretty good, I can't even lie. And I asked him if I could shoot a little bit of clips like inside the shop and everything, and they were kind of sketched out, which is a little unfortunate, but I was still able to get a couple clips. And then that one clip of her pouring the coffee, I kind of just grabbed a quick second of it. So yeah, just trying to grab a couple clips with this camera if I can, but on to the next thing. Alright, so we just pulled up to Home Depot. I don't know if you guys can see. Excuse the wind. I do have the dead cat on here, but it's still pretty damn windy out here. But something I was noticing as I was kind of watching back that last clip, and I wonder if you guys can see it, is that IBIS Wobble a little bit. So right now I'm all the way out at 15 and move around a little bit. You might see a little bit of it, but then I was watching a video by, I think it was Matty Hapoya, and he was saying that if you update your lens on this and then you turn off the stabilization on the lens, it turns off the IBIS on the camera inside. Maybe he was thinking as well, so I don't know. I couldn't find that confirmed anywhere, but I just turned it off on the lens now, so that is now with it turned off. I'm gonna have to see this a little bit better once I have this stuff on the actual computer. And now there's rain on the lens as well, but you know, let me know what you guys think in the comments below if you can see. So this is it without it on. And then this is with it stabilized, turned back on the lens, which should affect the IBIS inside, he says. So I don't know, we'll see. Not too sure, to be honest.
This is basically what I want, but this is way too big, small.
So this is what I picked up right here, and I am stoked on it. This little cart from Husky. I'll show you guys a little bit better once we get back to the office. Alright guys, so I'm back at the apartment. Obviously, I got this thing inside. It was not the easiest thing to bring in here. If you guys didn't see what it is this Husky 5-drawer unit. You guys will see it a little bit better once I get it built here, but shout out to actually Matt Day. I saw him do this for his own little photo studio, YouTube studio, whatever you want to call it, and it looked great. So I figured why not? It'd be a great place to store all my camera gear and stuff like that. Also, side note, German Shepherd. This is what a black rug looks like after literally 2 days without vacuuming. I vacuum like every other day, and it's just, yeah, long hair German Shepherd. Alright guys, so it's actually now the next day, so I actually ended up just finishing up that cart, which I'll show you in a second, but I offloaded all the footage. I was kind of watching some of the playback, so I'll kind of share my thoughts about the camera and my overall experience here in a second, but let me show you guys this cart real quick. Alright guys, so this is the cart. So it's like a Husky 5-drawer unit, whatever. But I actually am really happy with it. The wheels actually took me a hot second to get on last night. But I do like that it has wheels, so it has this little handle over here so you can move it around wherever you need it and everything like that as well. It has like this butcher block wood on top, which I really like. And I think it actually looks awesome. So I could shoot some products on this, I could wheel it around, shoot some B-roll of things on top of this, so that's kind of one use. But as I was saying, I picked this up because I saw Matt Day get this for his YouTube studio to store like his camera gear and stuff like that. So this is normally for like garage like tools and things like that, but it actually works great for photo equipment as well. So I just started putting some stuff in here, but you know, it just has all these different drawers that are different sizes and depths and everything. I can store my cameras in here, which is great because another really nice thing about this is it actually locks. So let's say if I had to have maintenance or someone coming into my apartment, I could lock up all my expensive camera gear, so that's nice. So yeah, it has a couple big drawers at the bottom, which I just have a couple, you know, boxes in down here right now. I like it. I can lock up the gear if I want to, and it's just not gonna get like dust and all sorts of crap on my gear when it's not being used. So yeah, overall, really happy with this thing, but let's go ahead and sit down, and I wanna talk to you guys a little bit about the R5 and my experience with it so far. All right, guys, got some iced coffee here. Let's talk a little bit about the R5. Okay, so at the beginning of this video, I was saying I wanted to kind of test out two of my concerns about this camera, right? So obviously one is that IBIS Wobble, and the second is the overheating. Now, how I decided to film this video after doing some research and just kind of looking around, I shot all this stuff in the 4K UHD 23.98 frames per second, and then the all-I codec. So that is the quality that basically doesn't overheat. So it's not the oversampled 8K. So there's basically the 8K that overheats. There's the high quality 4K, which is the downsampled 8K that overheats. So this is just like the normal 4K, which is honestly what I would probably film in most of the time anyways, and it does not overheat. And so when I recorded this video, it was predominantly just 4K 24 frames per second, which is what most of my videos would end up being anyways. And then I also tried to intermix a couple 4K 120 frames per second shots to one, just kind of test it out, but also just to see if just overheating would happen with how I would normally use it. I ran into no problems at all, at least in this video so far, but I think actually, let me look real quick. Gerald Undone, if you guys don't know him, he's like the tech YouTuber for camera stuff for sure, but he did a bunch of tests. I'm looking at him real quick. So 4K 120, he was able to shoot 13 minutes without overheating. So I don't know, I feel like I never really had my camera in the 4K 120 mode more than like a few minutes at a time, because I would switch it to that, shoot, and then just kind of switch back to 24 frames per second. The one thing about the 4K 120 in these different modes that overheat is even if you aren't hitting the record button, if you still have that mode active, I guess, and let's say you like switch it to 4K 120 and then you're kind of like framing up your shot and the camera's in that mode the entire time, that timer is still ticking even if you don't have the record button pressed down, because it's basically using the sensor for that frame rate even though you aren't hitting the record button. But what I do, I'm always in the 4K 24 frames per second, even to frame up my shots and everything, or to get things set up, and then literally just right before I'll switch it over to the 4K 120, and then I just shoot a couple burst shots, and then I'm just like back to 4K 24. So I feel like I never had any overheating issues so far, but you know, this is just kind of like a normal vlog for me. If I was doing a video talking about, I don't know, a camera lens or a certain accessory or something, and maybe I was shooting like a ton of B-roll back to back, maybe that's when I would run into the problem a little bit more. So definitely gonna have to do some more tests and things like that in the future. And you know, I feel like some people are hating on like the 4K all-I codec because they're saying it's not as high quality as the HQ mode, which is like the downsampled 8K mode. I'll say this right now, if you think you need to be shooting higher than that, 128 gig CF Express card shooting the all-I 4K codec only gives you, what was it? I think it's 34 minutes of recording time. So if you're trying to shoot higher quality than that, you better be ready to spend thousands of dollars on memory cards. So and storage and all that kind of stuff. So I'm honestly tempted to even try out the IPB codec, which is like the lower codec, which gives you closer to, I think, an hour and a half of recording versus the all-I, which is like 34 minutes or something like that. And one thing I forgot to mention with this And it seems like it's not just an R5 issue, and obviously it's not, but you know, I've been shooting not a lot of 4K on these newer cameras. I shoot a lot of 4K for work and things like that, but the 4K on this camera, I have a pretty good MacBook, and this footage, I mean, destroys my MacBooks. So I had to use proxies for all my footage so far, and I actually heard Daniel Schiffer talking about that. Very similar issue for the Sony a7S III. So yeah, I mean, this isn't even the highest quality that this camera can record in, and Premiere is still struggling to even play it back. Like, I can't even play it back like at 1/8, and this computer is pretty powerful. So that's kind of another problem, but that's kind of just a whole different situation, because that's not just an R5 problem. That's just all these cameras, the 4K quality is just starting to get crazy high. So that's kind of like my thoughts on the overheating side of things and how it affected my workflow, at least so far. But then the other side of things is the IBIS Wobble. Now, for most of this video, I actually had IBIS turned on, as well as the stabilization on this lens. And I would say the IBIS Wobble, honestly, I think it looked seriously awful. Like, I would not feel comfortable putting out a video with some of that footage. I'll leave it in this video so you guys can see it for yourself, but I think it seriously looked awful. And I understand that, you know, shooting very wide is just a downfall of having a camera with IBIS, and it's not really intended to shoot at, you know, 50mm like I am on this lens. But I also spent $2,300 on this lens to be able to record really wide angles, and that's just part of my shooting style and what I use it for. So that is a downside for me, 100%. Like, that is a pretty big disappointment. But I didn't shoot a lot of the shots without it, but it does look like after I updated my lens and then I turned off the stabilization on the lens, it seems like it did turn off IBIS inside of the camera. So gonna have to be doing some more testing with that. Maybe Sony has it right having like a not so strong IBIS, because then you can still shoot really wide and you don't get some of that stuff. But you know, I think over this next couple weeks, I'm gonna shoot some normal content as well, like some sit down stuff, and just kind of like what I would normally shoot on this channel, and see how just my normal workflow works with this camera as well. But let me know in the comments below if there's anything specific you guys want to see about this camera or just on this channel in general. And yeah, I'm gonna keep messing around with this thing, see how I like it, and see if I can kind of problem solve any of these issues. So that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed just kind of following me along, seeing me test this thing out, and picking up this new little cart, because I think that thing's actually pretty sick. And I'm thinking about changing up this office a little bit, so stay tuned, we'll see. I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence about it. But guys, I'm just gonna stop rambling. That's it for today's video. I really appreciate you checking it out. Hopefully everyone has a great week coming up. And yeah, that's it, guys. So if you enjoyed this video, drop it a thumbs up. That really helps the channel out. If you're new around here, consider hitting that sub button. I'd really appreciate it. I try to make content, trying to help other creators create better looking content. That is a mouthful. My name is Johnny. I will see you guys in the next video. Ooh, is this kind of hot? No, I'm just kidding. I'll see you guys. Peace.